Oh my God.
The sun was burning hot like fire in the sky. It was the kind of heat that makes everything look like it is moving, even when it is still. The old ranch sat alone on the dusty ground, far away from any town, far away from any help. Nothing moved except the heat. Nothing lived except what had to live. The ranch was called Broken Heart Ranch, and it had a good reason for that name. The buildings were old and falling down. The fence was broken in many places. The water well had almost no water left. Everything about this place told a story of a man who had stopped trying, a man who had given up on his dreams, a man who only cared about one thing: money. His name was Jake Hartley. Jake was a mean man. He was not tall, but he was hard like stone. His face was burned brown from the sun, and his eyes were cold like winter. He had no smile. He had no kindness in his heart. People in the town said that Jake Hartley had sold his soul for money, and that he would hurt anything or anyone to make more dollars. On this hot day, Jake stood in the back pasture where nobody ever went. With him were 2 horses. These were not strong horses. These were not beautiful horses. These were old Murray's mothers with new baby foals. The first Murray was called Dusty. She was brown and thin. The second Mara was called Rose, though there was nothing pretty about her anymore. They both looked sick and weak. They both looked like they were dying. And they were. Dusty had given birth to a foal 3 days ago. The baby was small and sick from the start. Rose had given birth to 2 foals, but one was already dead. The other one was so small that it looked like a doll made of skin and bones. Jake looked at these new foals with cold eyes. He did not see life. He did not see beauty. He only saw one thing: money lost. "These are worth nothing," he said to himself. He kicked at the dust. Worth nothing at all. He had bought these Murrays cheap, thinking they would have strong foals that he could sell for good money. But life does not always follow what men plan. These foals were weak. These foals were sick. These foals would never run fast. These foals would never be strong. In the hard world of ranching and selling horses, these foals were not worth the money it would take to keep them alive. Jake made a choice that many hard men make. He left them. He walked back to the ranch house and brought 1 bucket of water. That was all he would give them. He put the bucket down in the dust and looked at the 2 mothers and 3 foals. Then he turned and walked away. He did not look back. He did not feel anything in his chest. "Let the desert take them," he said. "Let the sun take them. I don't care." By evening, Jake was in town, drinking whiskey and playing cards. He did not think about the horses again. They were just business, and the business had failed. That was all. But back in the pasture, life was fighting. Dusty lay down next to her baby boy and licked his face. She could feel that something was wrong with him. She could feel that he was burning with sickness inside. But she was his mother, and mothers do not give up. She breathed warm air on him and sang soft sounds that only horses can understand. Rose stood near the bucket of water, her legs shaking. She had been weak since birth, even before she came to this ranch. Now she was trying to be strong for her 2 foals. One was already gone, lying still in the dust. The other, the smallest one, had eyes that would not close. This foal was different. She was small. Yes. She was weak. Yes. Her coat was almost white, almost yellow, like gold that had been left in the sun too long. And her eyes were large and dark, and they burned with a light that should not be in such a tiny body. Dusty's baby boy could not stand. He lay in the dust, and his body got hotter and hotter with fever. By night, he was gone. He had fought for 3 days, but his body was too sick, too weak. Dusty lay beside her dead foal and made sounds of sadness that the wind carried across the empty land. Rose's baby girl, the golden one, walked to her mother and drank the milk she had. Then she walked to the bucket of water and drank. The water was already warm from the sun, but it was water. It was life. The night came down like a blanket of stars. The stars were beautiful and cold, and they did not care about horses or foals or the pain that lived below them. Rose lay down and pulled her daughter close. The foal, the golden one, lay against her mother's warm body and breathed. In and out, in and out. She was breathing when she should be dead. She was alive when she should have been gone. Days passed. The heat grew worse. The water in the bucket ran out. The two mothers' milk became thin like water because they had nothing to eat and nothing to drink. The golden foal grew weaker. Her legs became thin like sticks. Her eyes grew larger in her small head. But still, she stood up when she fell down. Still she walked. Still she looked for water that was not there. On the third day, even Rose could not stand anymore. She lay in the dust beside her dead baby boy, Dusty's son, and she closed her eyes. Her breathing became slow and then stopped. The golden foal walked around her mother, making small sounds. She did not understand that her mother was gone. She only knew that the warm body beside her was not warm anymore. She was alone. The sun was burning overhead. The dust was everywhere. Her mother was dead. Her brother was dead. The other foal and her mother were dead. There was no water. There was no food. There was no help coming. Everything said that she should die too, but she did not. She stood in the middle of that empty pasture with 3 dead horses around her, and she did not die. Her legs were shaking, but they held her up. Her eyes were burning with fever, but they stayed open. She was a tiny golden foal in an ocean of dust and death, and she was still fighting. She did not know why. She only knew that her heart was beating, and beating meant there was still a chance. Somewhere far away, the wind was carrying a sound, the sound of an old horse walking, and a man riding, and a life that was broken looking for a reason to keep going. The desert is large, and chance is small, but sometimes they meet.
Samuel Miller had not seen another living person in 7 days. That was how he liked it now. People were hard. People asked questions. People looked at him with eyes that said they knew everything that was wrong with him, everything that he had broken, everything that he had lost. It was easier to be alone. His horse was called Copper, and she was the only friend he had left in the world. She was old, older than Samuel, maybe. Her coat was the color of rust and dust mixed together. She had one blind eye from a fight years ago. Her legs were thick and slow, but she was steady. She never left. She never asked him to be different. Samuel rode her across the desert, going nowhere in particular. He was leaving everything behind and looking for nothing at all. In his saddlebag, he carried a bottle of whiskey and a picture of his wife that he had not looked at in months. He also carried the memory of his daughter's face when he told her that he was going away. He was 42 years old, but he looked 60. His face was burned dark from years of sun. His eyes were hollow like old wells with no water left in them. His hands shook sometimes, even when he was holding the reins. His clothes were dirty and torn, and he had not shaved in weeks. Once, Samuel had been a good man. Once, he had owned land and cattle. Once, he had a wife who loved him and a daughter who called him Papa with a voice like music. Once, he had a future that looked bright and full of promise. That was before the bad years. That was before he started drinking to forget the pain. That was before he lost the ranch. That was before his wife took their daughter and went to live with her sister in another state. That was before Samuel became a man who had nothing but a horse and a bottle and a heart full of empty spaces. He rode without direction, sleeping under stars when he was too tired to ride anymore. He ate whatever he could find or trade for. Sometimes a town would let him work for a day to earn money for food. Most times, towns just wanted him to leave. This morning, he had ridden out from a small place called Dust Creek. The bartender there had told him about an old ranch to the west, Broken Heart Ranch. The man who owned it was mean, the bartender said. He treated everything and everyone like dirt. Maybe there would be work there. Maybe there would be a reason to keep riding. Samuel did not care much either way. Copper walked slow and steady across the flatland. The The sun was high and hot, and there was no shade anywhere. Samuel's throat was dry. His lips were cracked and bleeding a little bit. His head was hurt from the whiskey he had drunk last night, and his stomach was empty and angry. It was a good day to die, he thought. As good as any other day. Then he saw the vultures. They were circling over the land ahead, maybe 2 miles away. Vultures meant death. Vultures meant something had already given up. Samuel did not want to see death today. He saw enough of it inside his own heart, but Copper was walking toward it anyway, and Samuel was too tired to turn around. As they got closer, Samuel could see the pasture, and then he could see the shapes on the ground. Horses. Dead horses. His heart made a strange sound inside his chest, a sound like something breaking or something waking up. There were 3 dead horses in the dust. 2 were mothers, lying still forever. 1 was a small baby, lying beside its mother like it was sleeping. The buzzards had not touched them yet, because the heat was still so strong that the air itself felt like death. But there was something else. There was movement. Samuel pulled Copper to a stop and looked harder. At first, he thought it was heat making things move. But no, there was something small and golden standing in the middle of the dead horses. A foal, a tiny foal, standing on legs that looked like they were made of straw and could break at any moment. Samuel's breath stopped. The foal saw him. The foal's head came up. The foal's dark eyes looked across the dusty ground and found Samuel's eyes. For a long moment, they looked at each other, a broken man and a foal that should have been dead but was not. Samuel climbed down from Copper slowly, like his legs were not sure how to move anymore. He walked toward the foal step by step, moving slow so he would not scare her. The foal did not run. The foal did not move at all. She just stood there and watched him come. As Samuel got closer, he could see how small she was. She was so small that he could probably carry her in his 2 arms. Her coat was almost white, almost yellow like gold left in the sun. Her ribs were showing. Her legs were shaking. But her eyes were bright and alive and watching him with a look that he had not seen in another creature for many years. It was hope. It was trust. It was faith that he would not hurt her. Samuel fell down on his knees in the dust beside the foal. He did not mean to fall. His legs just stopped working. He was on his knees, and the tears were coming down his face, and he could not stop them. The foal took 1 small step toward him. Samuel reached out his shaking hand, and the foal came closer. She put her small nose against his palm. Her breath was warm. Her nose was soft like velvet. She was real. She was alive. She was here. "Easy, girl," Samuel whispered with a voice that was breaking. "Easy now. I am here. I am here." He lifted her slowly and held her against his chest. She was light, so light that she felt like she weighed almost nothing at all. But her heart was beating strong and fast against his own broken heart. Samuel stood up, holding the foal, and he looked at the dead horses and the vultures circling and the empty desert all around. He looked at his life, his empty, broken life, and he looked at this tiny creature that should have died but had not. And for the first time in many years, Samuel Miller felt something that looked like a reason to keep living. "I have got you," he said to the foal. "I have got you now, and I will not let you go." The foal closed her eyes and rested against his chest. And in that moment, 2 broken things found each other in the desert, and something like healing began. Samuel named her Glory. He did not think about it much. The name just came to him as he rode away from that place of death, holding the small golden foal against his chest. Copper walked slow and steady, knowing that her rider was carrying something that needed care. The sun was starting to go down, painting the sky orange and red and purple, like someone had set fire to the clouds. Glory was so light in his arms that Samuel kept checking to make sure she was still breathing. He could feel her heartbeat against his chest, fast and strong like a drum that would not stop. She was alive. Against everything that said she should be dead, she was alive. Samuel rode until he found a place to make camp. It was a small valley with rocks on one side that would give them shelter from the wind. There was an old dead tree where he could tie Copper, and there was a small stream. Not much water, but enough. He lay Glory down gently on some grass and walked to the stream. He used his hat to carry water back to her. The foal tried to drink, but most of it spilled down her small face. Samuel did this many times, bringing water in his hat, letting her drink, speaking soft words that did not mean anything but sounded like love. "You're going to be okay," he said. "You're going to be okay, little one." But he did not believe it. As the night came down, Samuel sat by the small fire he had made and looked at Glory lying on the grass. She was shaking, not from cold, but from weakness. Her eyes were open, but they did not seem to see him. Her breathing was fast and hard, like she was running even though she was lying down. Samuel knew the signs. He had seen them before in animals and in people. Fever was coming. He went to Copper and found some dried milk powder in his bag, something he carried to use sometimes in his coffee. It was not much, but it was food. He mixed it with water and brought it to Glory in a cup. He poured a little bit into her mouth. She swallowed once, then twice, then stopped. The night grew colder. Samuel built the fire bigger and sat next to Glory, watching her. Her small body was shaking now, shaking like something was breaking inside her. Her coat was wet with sweat, even though it was cold. Her breathing became loud and rough, like there was something stuck in her throat. By midnight, the fever had come. Glory's body burned hot. Samuel could feel the heat coming from her, even without touching her. Her eyes rolled back in her head. She made sounds, small cries that were the saddest sounds Samuel had ever heard. She was fighting something that he could not see and could not fight for her. Samuel sat beside her through the darkness and held her small head in his hands. He did not know what to do. He had no medicine. He had no knowledge of how to save a sick foal. He had nothing but his hands and his voice and the love that had come into his heart from nowhere. "Stay with me," he whispered. "Please stay with me." He thought of his daughter. He thought of the day he had told her that he was leaving. She had cried, and he had walked away. He had not turned back. He had not held her. He had not promised to come back. He had just left, because he was a broken man, and broken men do not know how to love. Now, holding this small golden foal in his arms, Samuel understood what he had lost. He understood what it meant to care about something more than the pain inside your own heart. He understood what it meant to want to keep something alive so badly that it hurt worse than any drinking could numb. He understood that he had thrown away the one thing that mattered, his daughter's love, and now the desert was showing him a second chance in the form of a foal that should have been dead. The hours passed slowly. The fire burned down. The stars moved across the sky, and Glory burned hotter and hotter. Her tiny body moved in Samuel's hands like she was fighting invisible enemies. Her breathing became more and more shallow, more and more weak. By the time the night was darkest, the time when everything dies easiest, Glory was barely breathing at all. Samuel held her against his chest, and he cried. He did not make any sound, but the tears came down his face and fell on her golden coat. He cried for all the things he had broken. He cried for his wife who had stopped loving him. He cried for his daughter who would grow up without a father. He cried for this tiny foal who had survived 3 days of death and now was dying in his arms. "I am sorry," he said. "I'm sorry for everything." And then he made a choice. He walked outside the camp, still holding Glory against his chest. He walked to the edge of the small valley, and he looked up at the stars. He thought about how big the sky was, and how small he was, and how small Glory was. He thought about how the desert did not care about small things. The desert did not care about suffering. The desert just took what it wanted and left the rest. Samuel lay down in the cold sand. He held Glory close to his body so she could feel his warmth. He held her the way a father holds a daughter. He held her the way he should have held his own child. "Wherever you go," he whispered, "I will follow. If you go into the darkness, I will go too. You will not go alone. I promise you that. You will not go alone." Copper came and stood over them both. The old horse breathed warm air down on the small foal. She stood like a guard, like a protector, like she was saying that these two broken things were hers to watch over. The night grew colder still, and then something began to change. Samuel felt it in his arms before he understood it. Glory's body was not shaking as hard. Her breathing was becoming slower, but deeper. Her skin was becoming cooler. The fever was breaking. The burning inside her was going down like a candle that was running out of fire. By the time the first light came to the sky, soft and gray and new, Glory was sleeping. And her sleep was the sleep of someone who had fought death and won. Samuel did not move. He lay in the sand and held her, and he let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, some broken things could be fixed. Some lost things could be found. Some lives that should have ended could begin again. Weeks passed, and Glory grew stronger every single day. Samuel built a small shelter from branches and cloth and old wood that he found. He made a fence with rocks and rope to keep Glory safe. He caught fish from a small stream and cooked them. He found wild plants that were good to eat. He was no longer just surviving. He was building something. Glory drank milk from a bottle that Samuel made from cloth. She drank water from the stream. She ate grass when she was strong enough to walk. And every single day, she grew a little bit more. Her coat began to shine like real gold in the sunlight. Her legs became less shaky. Her eyes became brighter and more alive. But something else was changing too. Samuel was changing. He stopped drinking whiskey. One day, he just took the bottle and threw it in the stream and watched it float away. He did not do it because he decided to be good. He did it because he did not need it anymore. Glory needed him to be awake and clear and strong. Glory needed him to be a father, and so he became one. He started to care about how he looked. He washed in the stream. He shaved with an old knife. He fixed his clothes. He looked in the water one morning and barely recognized the man looking back at him. But it was a man, not a ghost. It was a man with purpose in his eyes. Copper seemed to smile, though horses cannot really smile. One morning, when Glory was strong enough to stand on her own and walk without falling, Samuel decided to move. Staying in one place meant nothing. A man with a second chance should go somewhere and do something with it. He had heard of a small town called Silver Hope, not far away. It was a town where people came to start over. A town where the past did not follow you. A town where a man could find work and build a life. Samuel packed what little he had. He made a small rope halter for Glory so she could walk beside Copper. The golden foal walked close to him, her small body moving with more strength now. She had learned to trust him completely. When he moved, she followed. When he stopped, she stopped. When he spoke, she listened. They walked all day under the hot sun. Glory kept up, though her legs still got tired. Samuel walked beside her, talking to her about things, about his daughter, about his wife, about the man he used to be and the man he wanted to become. "You saved me," he told Glory as they walked. "You know that, girl? You were supposed to die, and I was supposed to keep dying inside, but you did not die. And because you did not die, I did not die either. We saved each other." Glory made a small sound, almost like she understood. They came to Silver Hope in the evening. It was a small town, but it was alive. There were people walking in the streets. There was a saloon with music coming from it. There was a hotel and a store and a livery stable. There were lights and life and the sound of human voices. Samuel was nervous. He had been alone so long that people felt strange to him now. But he walked into the livery and talked to the man there, a big man named George who had kind eyes. "I need work," Samuel said. "I could do anything. I can build. I can fix things. I can work with horses. I just need honest work." George looked at Samuel and then at Copper and then at Glory. His eyes changed when he saw Glory. He came close and looked at the foal carefully. "Where did you get this one?" he asked. "I found her," Samuel said. "She was left to die. I saved her." George was quiet for a long time. "She is special," he said finally. "I can see it. Something is different about her." Samuel did not answer. He did not know how to explain what was different about Glory. She was just a foal, but she was also something more. There was a light in her that was not ordinary. There was a knowing in her eyes that seemed older than her age. "I will give you work," George said. "I will give you a room here in the livery. You can sleep in the back with your horses, and I will pay you fair money. This town needs honest work done, and you look like a man who is ready to work honest again." Samuel felt something break open in his chest. Not a breaking apart, but a breaking open, like a seed opening to let the sun in. "Thank you," he said, and he meant it. That night, Samuel lay in the room George gave him, and Glory slept beside him on soft hay. Copper stood guard outside, the way she always did. Samuel thought about the fever night in the desert. He thought about how close to death they both had been. He thought about the choice he had made to follow Glory into the darkness, to die if she died, to live if she lived. He had expected that choice to end in death. Instead, it had ended in this: a warm room, a bed to sleep in, work to do tomorrow, a town that wanted him to stay, a life that mattered again. Glory made a small sound in her sleep, and Samuel put his hand on her small body. Her heart was beating steady and strong. Her breathing was even and deep. She was healthy now. She was strong, but she would always be connected to him, and he would always be connected to her. Over the next weeks, something strange began to happen. Cattle that had run away would come back when Glory walked near them. A man's lost dog followed Glory through the town and led the man right to her, and the man found her waiting. During a small fire in the town, Glory somehow knew to move away from the flames just before they spread to where she stood. People started to notice. They started to talk. Some said she was blessed. Some said she was magic. Some said she could see things that other horses could not see. Samuel never explained it. He only smiled and kept working and kept loving that golden foal like she was the most precious thing in the world. Because she was. Every morning, when Samuel woke up and saw Glory standing beside him, healthy and strong and alive, he remembered a broken man holding a dying foal in the desert darkness. He remembered making a choice to follow her anywhere, into anything. That choice had saved him, and in saving her, he had saved himself. Some bonds do not break. Some rescues save the rescuer most of all. And some lives that should have ended in the dust become the thing that teaches the whole world about love, about loyalty, about the power of not giving up. Glory was becoming a legend, and Samuel was becoming the man he was always meant to be. 5 years had passed since Samuel found Glory in that empty pasture. The small town of Silver Hope had grown. More buildings had been built. More people had come to live there. And at the center of all this growth was a story that nobody could quite explain. The story of a golden horse and a broken man who had found each other in the desert. Samuel was no longer a broken man. His face was still burned from the sun, but his eyes were clear and full of light. His hands were strong from years of honest work. He had saved enough money to buy a small piece of land just outside the town. Not a big ranch, but big enough. He had built a house with his own hands, and Glory lived beside him. Copper, the old mare, lived there too, growing older and slower but still standing watch like a guardian. Samuel had become one of the most trusted men in Silver Hope. When people needed help, they came to Samuel. When there was work that mattered, Samuel was the one they asked. He had earned back his dignity. He had earned back his place in the world. But it was Glory who had made him into a legend. Stories about her spread across the land like wind. They said she could find lost children. They said she could sense danger before it came. They said that animals listened to her in ways that they did not listen to other horses. They said that wounds healed faster when she was near them. They said she was not entirely a horse at all, but something the desert had shaped and sent to teach people about love. Samuel never told these stories. He only smiled when people talked about them. One autumn day, a terrible thing happened to Silver Hope. A group of wild horses, sick and crazy from drinking poison water from a dried-up well, came running into the town. There were 20 of them, and they were destroying everything. They knocked down fences. They ran through houses. They frightened children. 2 people were hurt trying to stop them. The town was in panic. The mayor came to Samuel's house. "Please," he said, "you have to do something. That horse of yours, Glory, maybe she can help. People say she can do anything. Maybe she can stop these wild horses before someone dies." Samuel looked out at the wild horses running through the streets. He looked at Glory standing in her pen, watching them. She was beautiful now, tall and strong and golden like the sun itself. Her eyes were deep and knowing. She looked at Samuel, and it was like she was waiting for him to ask. "Open the gate," Samuel said. The mayor looked shocked. "But she might run away. She might get hurt." "No," Samuel said. "She will not run away. She knows what she has to do." Samuel opened the gate, and Glory walked out into the street. The wild horses saw her. They stopped running. They became quiet. All 20 of them turned and looked at this golden horse walking slowly toward them. And then something impossible happened. The wild horses began to follow her. Glory walked slow and steady, not running, not acting afraid. She walked toward the edge of town, and the wild horses followed like she was leading them somewhere they needed to go. Samuel walked behind them, not touching any of them, just watching. Glory led them to a place where there was good water from the spring that Samuel had found near his land. Clean water, healing water. The wild horses drank and drank until their thirst was gone and the poison in their bodies began to wash away. And then they were calm. By morning, the wild horses were resting peacefully. Over the next days, townspeople brought them food and water. The poison slowly left their bodies. Their eyes became clear again. One by one, they were tamed, not by force, but by the gentleness that Glory had shown them. The town wanted to give Samuel money. The mayor offered him gold. The people offered him land. But Samuel refused everything. "I do not need anything," he said. "I have everything I need. I have glory. I have copper. I have a home and honest work. That is more than a broken man should ever ask for." But the town did something anyway. They built a statue. It stood in the center of Silver Hope, a beautiful statue of a golden horse, carved from stone and painted with gold leaf. On the statue, they carved words. Glory. She came when we needed her. She taught US that the smallest among US can be the strongest. She showed US that love is stronger than death. Years continued to pass. Samuel grew older. His hair became gray. His hands became slower. But his eyes never lost their light. And every single day, he walked with Glory through the land around Silver Hope. People said that she never left his side, not even for a moment. Some said it was loyalty. Some said it was magic. Some said it was love so deep that it could not be measured in words. When Samuel was an old man, children would come to his house to listen to his stories. He would sit on his porch with Glory beside him, and he would tell them about the day he found her in the desert. He would tell them about the fever night when he thought she would die. He would tell them about the choice he made to follow her anywhere, even into darkness. "Why did you love her so much?" the children would ask. Samuel would smile and put his hand on Glory's neck. "Because she loved me first," he would say. "When I was broken and lost and empty inside, she looked at me with eyes that said she believed in me. She believed I could be better. She believed I was worth saving." And when someone believes in you like that, when someone sees the good in you when you cannot see it in yourself, you must love them with all of your heart. The children would listen, and some of them would understand, and some of them would grow up to be like Samuel, people who loved deeply and truly and without holding anything back. One winter, Samuel became very sick. He lay in his bed, and his breathing became slow and hard. The doctor from town came and shook his head sadly. "He does not have much time," the doctor said. But Glory would not leave his bedside. She stood in the room, though no horse should be in a room, and she stood right next to Samuel's bed. She breathed her warm breath on his face. She made soft sounds that only he could hear, and Samuel, lying in his bed, put his hand on her neck and held it there. On the last night, Samuel whispered to Glory. His words were quiet, but they were full of love. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for not dying in that desert. Thank you for saving me. You gave me a second chance at life, and I lived it with you. I could not have asked for more." Glory rested her head on his chest, right where his heart was beating its last beats. And when the sun came up the next morning, Samuel Miller was gone. But Glory stood beside his bed, her golden coat shining in the light, her eyes full of a sadness that seemed to understand everything about loss and love and the bonds that do not break even when death comes. The town buried Samuel with honor. They made his grave in the beautiful land where his house stood. And every single day after that, Glory would walk to his grave and stand there for a while. People said she was mourning. People said she was keeping him company. People said she would not leave him, even in death. Glory lived for many more years after Samuel died. She became a symbol of Silver Hope, a reminder of what love looks like, what loyalty means, and how a life that was supposed to end in the dust could become a legend that burns forever in people's hearts. When Glory finally died, they buried her next to Samuel. And on her grave, they carved these words: Glory, her rescue saved a man. His love saved her. Together, they showed us that some bonds outlive death. Some love never dies. Some legends live forever. The end.